my name is Anthony and this is my first YouTube video. In this series I will be talking about the city of the future. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoy the video. This first video is just an introduction to the city of the future. And the next video will be about infrastructure. Then after that, the third episode will be about food and water production. First thing we're going to talk about in this episode is aging infrastructure. Our infrastructure is really old. Like, we got infrastructure from the 1950s still being used today, such as our electrical grid. We need a smart grid. We are in need of a smart grid because we just have electrical systems that were made at a time when we use less electricity. Now we got stuff like PlayStations and TVs, and we got all kinds of devices like iPhones, iPods, and lots of stuff. We need a better energy production system and energy management system. So yeah, smart grids would work really well because it's just a modern alternative. Our cities are kind of unorganized. They're like a building here, and they just keep on expanding forever without even having what their expansions planned. But if we have better community planning, then we could have more neat cities. Our cities look awesome right now, especially at nighttime. Cities look awesome at nighttime, but it's just not so good community planning. We just expand, like put a building here, and here, and that's all. So a better community planning team would be a good addition to a city because we need more organized cities. Now, energy production, we need to use more solar, wind, and geothermal, but mostly electromagnetic generators. Electromagnetic generators are something where the magnet pushes a wheel around in a circle because they're repelling each other. And since they're repelling each other, then it'll just keep spinning forever. And that wheel that is being spun is attached to an alternator that generates electricity forever. Now, this is very efficient, and we'll get to it in a later episode. In energy production, which will be episode number 4. And yeah, we'll talk about all kinds of new and alternative things to coal and why we need to keep coal and oil. Because it's useful and it will never, and it's very reliable. It's never going to be unflammable, but maybe the clouds might come for too long and the solar panels won't work. Maybe the wind will stop blowing in some areas for too long, which happens a lot. Because it's kind of unpredictable in some areas, but in some areas it's not. And maybe the geothermal plants might fail. And we need to stop using nuclear power, because we have nuclear waste, which is basically a bunch of uranium cores or something like that, which have to stay in a pool that's electrically cooled, because it'll get really hot. And that's just too much energy wasting to produce energy. This kind of doesn't make sense. We're using a lot of energy to produce energy, but we gotta use we gotta use energy to keep the byproducts in place. To me, that doesn't sound that smart. I don't know about you. Our cities are awesome. So the good thing about our cities is that we have a lot of people together, and when we get a lot of people together, they all start to talk and communicate and come up with new ideas. That's what cities are best for, is for us to communicate and come up with better ideas. Our cities also have most of the technological advantages over smaller towns, because cities have to cope with overpopulation, sewage, and more of that kind of stuff that small towns barely have to deal with. The bad things about cities is crime. crime comes when there's a lot of people in a certain area. Crime is a bad thing, but also messiness. Lots of cities are messy because they're huge and it's hard to clean up the whole thing, so only the landmarks get cleaned up. Like, the tourist areas get cleaned up, so more tourists will want to go there, but if it's not a tourist area, it's not going to get cleaned up as much. Bad thing about our cities is that they're unorganized, like I said earlier, that they just expand without being planned to expand. They're planned to add like this chunk on there, and then this chunk on there, and then this chunk on there, and it's just like an unorganized jumble, even though it looks really good at night. I love seeing downtowns at night. I love seeing towns at night, all the lights and stuff. It just looks awesome to me. I love cities. Frankly, I'd rather go see a city, downtown Chicago. I'd rather go to downtown Chicago than I would the woods, because this summer I went to Yellowstone. We had no electricity. It was fun. We did lots of things. It was fun. I just can't go without electricity. For real, just trust me, I can't go without electricity. Especially for a week and a half. That was hard. But what kind of made up for it was the funness, and we were in nature. And we didn't have to sleep in a tent. We were in an RV. That's pretty good. Talk about something I didn't include at the beginning. Forgot to include it. When humans have power. So, in the city of the future, politicians shouldn't run our cities, because when humans have power, they tend to abuse it. Some of them are really good at power. Some of them don't abuse their power. But lots of them abuse their power a lot. So, police. The law gives them permission to shoot us if they need to. But police abuse that power, and that's where you get police brutality, because they are basically abusing their power. And also, like, when a government turns into a communist government or a dictatorship, they're abusing their power. And communism isn't bad. Communism is actually a pretty good system, but it's just abused because it can't be managed without turning into a dictatorship or whatever it turns into. And it's abused because people get rationing. You give them big rations, and that's good communism. Give them tiny rations when you're in need, that's not good communism. Sometimes you give them no rations and they die. So communism is not a bad system, it's just not used properly. Thanks for watching my introduction episode to the city of the future. Next episode will be talking about only one topic: infrastructure in the city of the future. We'll be talking about housing huge populations and an alternative to that. A solution to that, not an alternative. We'll also be talking about smart homes and energy efficient houses and why we shouldn't use wood, because there's some disadvantages more than there is advantages. And there's some advantages to using wood, but we'll talk about that next week. We'll also talk about space efficiency, road layouts, and better community planning. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thanks for viewing. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my video. Have a nice day. Tune in next time.